for my mental health, I cannot go that far and say that it's definite. It's something that I've seen online, something that I've seen in the papers, or do they even have newspapers anymore? I don't even know. Number 2. Okay, so I've got a thing I'm going to read here. So I am the only person that I know that has an internet incapable phone here. All right, good old flip, no internet. It does have a browser, but you try to use it. I am also the only person I know that does not have the internet hooked up at all times at the house. I also don't have any TV, and yeah, I have no information pipeline into the house that I'm aware of. Editing Dave here discovered I left out how I actually turn on and off the internet. So I'll show you. So first, I have to find some keys and go out to my tool shed. This way. It's not as easy for me because I put roadblocks in front of myself to slow me down before I go make mistakes, like get on the internet for no reason. And in that amount of time that I go out to the tool shed and back, I can always just say, well, no, I don't actually need to go to the internet. Not really. And I can stop myself. Whereas it's like I'm a crackhead. And once I got the crack in my hand, I'm going to smoke it. Right? But if I don't have any crack, it's just like, well, I can't just smoke crack. It's an accessibility thing. I've decreased my accessibility, and so have greater inhibition. I think that our inhibitions are just as much as part of us as our inmost desires. They're both of us, right? It's a combination of the two that makes us complete. I don't think there's a pure form of who we really are, and I don't think our desires reflect that. It's like, why are desires more us and our inhibitions are somehow less us? That doesn't make any sense to me. So now I've got to turn on my phone and wait for it to fire up. And I know in my head, well, I got to do all that legwork and labor just to turn on the internet. It makes it less easy. So my modem is back there. You see I've got the T-Mobile 5G. I got the 5G coronavirus beams coming into the house for my internet. And to turn it on and off, I have this app on my phone that T-Mobile uses. Essentially parental control, and you can turn off a device whenever you want it. It's like, oh, okay, you're grounded, teenager. Now your laptop don't work. Now your phone don't work. At least on the Wi-Fi. Go into that guy, right? And it takes a while because it's got all this bloatware and whatever. And now I unblock the internet, and now I can start surfing. Because I have to put the obstacles in my way in order to overcome them later. Yeah, it's inefficient, but so is being on the internet constantly. And that's it. So that's my demonstration. I want to see how many other people out there also do something similar, and how alone in my opinions am I. I don't expect to change anyone's opinion or practice with the internet. The internet is too addictive, and I've never had anyone say, hey, this approach that you have to the internet is actually kind of healthy, and it's altogether new technology. We don't really understand how it kind of rewires the inside of our brains. Um, you have some good ideas. Never heard anyone say that when I talk about them. I've done this for about 10 years. About 2014 is when I made the decision, hey, I'm cutting off the internet. And actually, at the time, Comcast said, well, why are you turning off your internet, bro? It's like, that's, no one says that. It's like, yeah, I know. I'm being a trendsetter here. Doing what I do. Um, I can say with confidence that my mood is way better the days I'm away from the internet and worse after spending a few hours on it. It feels a lot like cigarettes, where that initial pull is awesome. That nicotine hit is great. That serotonin hit is great. But I always feel cruddy afterwards in both cases, right? And I feel cruddy for a while afterwards. I just feel disheartened and just hopeless. Those kinds of feelings always follow internet usage with me. And so I said, hey, I got to make a change. But the novelty, that craving, always comes back. And hey, here we are again. Thankfully, I'm cigarette free for 2 months now. Pretty good. Not my longest run without cigarettes, but hey, pretty good. I've not completely sworn off the internet because here I am, right? Because it is the best information system we have currently, and I think there is hope that the current state of the internet, with all of its outrage, misinformation, scams, and clickbait, is just a temporary Wild West phase that we have. I think it is important to keep up with the conversations, and how to navigate the web, I think, is a skill that you need to kind of practice every once in a while. I wanted to create a set of rules that you could follow that gives you access to the internet, but doesn't necessarily make you overwhelmed by it, right? I set this intention about 10 years ago, like I said, and I've made a conscious effort to just avoid it whenever possible. Just whenever you're bored, just be bored, right? That's just a thing you can do. I've got several sections here. So section 1 is on circumventing the algorithm. The goal is to pursue what you want online and not become distracted. The design of most social media, I think most people would agree, is to capture our attention and retain it. And to do that because there's some kind of money purpose or political purpose, or some kind of purpose that you're getting directed because of someone else's whim. I don't like being manipulated like that, and I wanted to preserve a kind of 1990s era mentality of being humble about my worldview, and take ownership in shaping my own personality and character. In my speculation, I think that many people pour themselves into the internet and allow themselves to become like a fluid, kind of, and take shape in whatever community they just gravitate to. Most people. I don't want to paint with broad brushes. I don't like people doing that. And I'm going to try not to do it either. It's not my intention. Seeing through clickbait, engagement bait. I've heard many times people rail against powerful people and how they can manipulate people. They're accused continually of creating a worse world for everybody else for their own benefit. Instead, I try to take that responsibility from them through the use of self-reflection, study of comment sections, asking myself, does this appeal to my confirmation bias, and speculation of motives. Motives, right? There could be many possible motives behind why someone would want to say something or do something, right? And I don't like just jumping on one. Oh, that's got to be it, right? I don't like that. When a politically charged message is online, there hopefully will be a discourse that follows. I like seeing which sphere of influence got to the video first, or that whatever first, that page, that link, that whatever. I want to see what people are talking about. I'll show you. This will determine which comments are usually at the top. Any site worth its salt will allow reordering of the comments, at least by newest or popular, at least. Popular being determined by some kind of envelope, XY axis, whatever has the biggest surface area of latest to um, most views, right? And whatever surface area is largest, that goes to the top, essentially. I don't know how the algorithm works for top comments. Reddit has a nice feature with controversial. Whichever has the most upvotes and downvotes gets bubbled to the top, and you see the wildest, craziest stuff ever. I love it. When I find myself on the internet, I've just turned it on with my smartphone that's not hooked up to any kind of cell network. It's an app phone that I use as a tool, not a phone or a you know it doesn't look at the internet. It's just a switch from my desktop, right? So I'll go over here to my subscriptions page on YouTube because I like seeing the stuff that I've told YouTube, hey, I want to look at this stuff, right? I don't want to see what you think that I want to see. I want to see the stuff that I've explicitly said, hey, I want to look at this stuff. And that's the subscriptions tab here. And I have it set up here. It doesn't go to my home page. If I go and click here, then it's going to take me to the regular. Or if I just go to there, these are the same links, right? So anyway, here is my subscription feed. And I'll spend some time here. And I do that because it primes my regular algorithm, right? So that's the subscriptions page, this is my go-to, right? And so if I go over here to manage, then I see them all laid out. And here's the complete list of all of my subscriptions. And there's people that I don't necessarily agree with, but I think it's good to stay informed and get access to their information because they're influential, and maybe challenging your beliefs are a good thing. So I have curated my content and try to keep it succinct. It's not maxed out. I've heard you can get up to 100 subscriptions, but I try to keep it kind of succinct. And there are some people like, yeah, you're not going to get really good information about the world from some guys, but maybe entertainment is good because it helps you kind of relax and kind of everything doesn't need to be political on the internet. You don't need to constantly go for the discourse. You can just go there and be entertained, right? These are all my subscriptions, and I think it's good to show people your subscription list. Yeah, there's people that I don't necessarily agree with. Some people that it's like, I haven't seen them in a while, but hey, maybe they'll come up with something different. And I'm kind of invested in some people's storyline, right? And it's like, well, I think it's important that we show each other our algorithms because we get often lost in our own bubble. And the only way we're going to get out of our own bubble is by taking a risk and saying, hey, is there anything here that I shouldn't have, that is really dangerous and I shouldn't expose myself to? Or hey, maybe there's something really crucial that I am missing on my subscriptions. So I used to have CNN and Fox News subscribed, and I'll show you what that looks like here, right? And there's like the two big ones. Then they always go head to head, right? But if you see, right now, if you switch it to CNN and Fox News or subscribed, guess what your entire feed becomes? It's CNN and Fox News, and it just hogs up all the space. because they're corporations. And they can just blast it out where, the regular person who's just doing it kind of on their own, maybe a small team, um, they can't really blast out the content, just the amount of videos that these corporations can, because they have huge buildings full of staffers that are generating content, right? They're billion-dollar corporations. And I wanted to kind of stay plugged into the mass media, but it just became too much. It just became too much, and so I just decided, you know what, I don't like you on my subscriptions anymore. You no longer give me a slice of life that you give me too much of your slice of life. And now I get a more eclectic, varied, rather than the two extremes, right? Um, and I think it's important to have kind of um, a little bit of the extremes. Like I still have some news here, right? Bloomberg news. Look, you got one, two, and Bloomberg likes to do double shots. Cause see, here's Bloomberg news, and Bloomberg news. They do double shots. So uh, this is a respectable amount of posting here, right? They're making room for everybody else. They're still on the feed, but they're not like hogging attention and being, hey, look at me, look at me. And I think that whole look at me kind of approach to media is really kind of a red flag for me, because it's like, why are you so self-important? Maybe one day I'll go through each of my subscriptions and say, hey, here's why I like this guy. Here's why I keep this guy on my feed. Um, so yeah, that's how I do kind of subscriptions. And then I go over to the home, and now my feed is primed with stuff that I saw in subscriptions, right? It's giving me stuff that's close to what I was looking at, but it's not the stuff that I necessarily asked for. There's some stuff that I'm subscribed to. Like, see, let's go down and see something that I am subscribed to. Not a lot, actually. I don't see very many of my subscriptions on my homepage. So this is how the YouTube, they'll eventually try to get you to look at stuff that you didn't really necessarily go into the internet looking for, but it's just like, hey, I got some enticing candy kitties, come to my van. Where did he see? Like, I don't see any of my subscriptions on the homepage, which is nuts. Use your subscriptions tab to see the stuff that you asked YouTube to show you. And that's why I have it up in my links up here. Is because I know I'm getting wise to your game there, YouTube. But I also have Reddit. Reddit is a cool place to go to. It's like crack for me. So I do like going to Reddit for all the wrong reasons. Because all of the subreddits, I really like some of the subreddits and going into there, and just all of the niche communities there. But it's information overload, and it's very fascinating. I like their algorithm, but I also don't like their algorithm. We'll go see Reddit for a second, and we'll see. I don't know how to explain it. You can just dive in. I do have my subreddit. I don't even know how to see your subreddits. Oh, my subreddits. And then here's my subreddits, right? So you can go in and see how the discourse is happening. So let's see. It's mostly more liberally minded here. So here's that controversial I was talking about. I like going here and just seeing just kind of the crazy stuff that happens. Um, so top comment, I like that you can get a really varied. See, YouTube is only top or new. This Reddit has 6 ways you can do it. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? 6 ways you can slice the comments, which I really appreciate. Um, and I think that's why I like Reddit discourse better than YouTube discourse, because you can slice the discourse in different ways, and package it in different ways. 4chan. Um, I like going to 4chan. I'm not going to go visit those sites. And so the reason I like 4chan is because you see the wildest stuff there. It's the I've heard, the whole Twitter debate, is there free speech on the internet anymore? I would argue that yes, because in 4chan you see all of the crazy comments. Freedom means you have to accept all the nasty stuff too, right? Every once in a while, you get one of those gym kind of posts or threads where you're just like, yeah, you can definitely tell that these guys aren't being subverted by any kind of, I guess, greater control. Maybe, but the whole, you see the wild stuff, and there's porn on there, there's gore on there, there's just the wild misinformation that's clearly just meant to just get under people's skin. But also you get those very few comments that are exclusive to 4chan. It is dangerous. It is a dangerous site. So forewarned, I'm not going there. The homepage could blast you with some gore or some porn. So we're just not going to go to 4chan today. Whenever I go through the internet, I usually spend about 2 hours. I think 2 hours of surfing online a week, just all at once. I think that's my ideal. Do I go a little bit more than that? Do I go and say, it's a slow day, I want to see what's going on online? Does that happen? Sure. Is it a breach of my integrity? Yeah. I don't want to beat myself up too bad about it. Just set the intention, 2 hours a week, and we go from there. The secret, I believe, to maintaining sanity is something George Carlin said while being interviewed by Charlie Rose. He said he watches it all with a combination of wonder and pity. And I do kind of pity those that don't have the ability, it seems, to put themselves into someone else's perspective. There are creators out there that have acquired a really good skill at getting under other people's skin, and that's where I catch myself doing it. And me being former military, I get angry about things. It just happens. I don't like that I do it, and I try to be more aware that I do it every day. I think it takes a certain kind of courage to say, I don't know. I don't have a witty comeback here. This question may actually have an unknowable answer, but then say, hey, you know what? I got to go wade through some slop and got to make a judgment. I got to figure it out. See some other opinions. So this third section here I have is holding two worldviews. I think Tolkien can help a little bit in this regard, and not just Tolkien, but really any large expansive universe, right? You can have really deep conversations about Middle Earth with other people, and they're very meaningful conversations, useful to exploring their human spirit and all that jazz, right? But very few people will say Middle Earth actually exists. They can separate and compartmentalize Middle Earth information into its own world, right? and then like the real world is its separate thing, right? It exists over here, real, definitely not real. So the nuance here is, I think it may be wise to compartmentalize the world as gleaned through the lens of media, electronics, print, and sometimes spoken language, depending on how much you trust the person actually saying it to you. The primary world that I understand and care about is the one I directly interact with. Family, my friends, my organizations that I participate in. That's the primary world and the world that I believe in 100%, right? Well, as close to 100% as you can be. More 100% than the other world. The world created by media. I have no idea what's going on in Mongolia. There's no idea. Never been there. I've been to a lot of places over the world, but I'm not there now, and I can't really know things about them. Right? Not in the way that I know what's going on in my backyard. I can go, yep, it's my backyard. It's out there. This stems from the collective kind of change. We no longer have the institutional trust collectively, both left and right, to say, hey, this is how we find truth. And then they get together and they say, hey, we've got this method of finding truth. Let's run this information through this method of finding truth and see what comes out. Anything? And we can agree on that, and we can move on and say, hey, this is actually what happened. Now we can form opinions about what this thing that actually happened. We can't agree online. The left and the right, they just cannot agree on anything about what actually happened, what are the facts on the ground. No one agrees on anything, like just factual things. They can't agree what the facts are. And that's where I take this stance back and go, okay, there's this other world that may exist, and then there's my world, and they're separate. And I can compartmentalize them and say, this is like the world of Middle Earth, and that it's compartmentalized. It might be true. I think that's a healthy way of approaching the world without getting like really emotionally caught up with that world, because it's too exhausting. It just is too exhausting. It's good to study it. It's good to talk about the world that might be, but I can't get, for my mental health, I cannot go that far and say that it's definite. Something that I've seen online, something that I've seen in the papers, or do they even have newspapers anymore? I don't even know. I think they do. Somewhere has a newspaper. Until we've collectively got together and say, hey, we agree on this method, let's just use this method to agree on what truth is. Until that happens, those worlds are separate, always. Section 4, cultivating a diet. It is easy to get lost in the menagerie of all that is available online. For me, the fire hose of information goes too fast. Almost none of it gets retained. Instead, I have made a practice of collecting pieces of media that I feel are classics in some way, and I just study them. I remember putting the Historia Civilis Battle of Cannae on repeat one afternoon, because I think that's just fascinating. And I'll every once in a while just go back to that video, and I've got lots of videos like that one. And this also applies to studio media like Star Trek.
Things really starting to give me the creeps.
Did you forget your game?
Cowboy Bebop.
It's not easy living in such an ugly, corrupt world. There is no certainty and nothing to hope for.
Dragon Ball.
Mercy is a loathsome trait, and you will soon learn that I have no such weakness.
Pink Floyd.
And who's the fool who wears the crown?
Etc. And I just go back and I kind of rewatch them over and over and over again. Like the original season of Star Trek, I must have seen at least 30 times through, because you just put it on and it's in the background and it's cool to just kind of watch that. Oh, I like this moment, I'll pay attention to it, and really kind of just study them. There's good episodes, there's bad episodes, but on the whole, I think it's good to have a really deep understanding of really, in your opinion, what is good media to you, and really understanding it. The criteria for this library I've accumulated is that it must be relatable to the public consciousness. It can't be too far off the beaten path, because it's good to have conversations about things. And if they're way off the beaten path, you can't really have conversations about things like, for example, take when Luke Skywalker tells Obi-Wan, "Hey, I want to come with you to Alderaan and become a Jedi like my father." And if you understand the implications of that statement and what it means in the larger kind of story of Luke Skywalker, you can kind of see how that may apply to you in your life. Just kind of for instance, like oh, you're so eager, huh? Yeah, okay. How does that interaction apply to my life in some way? And it can't just be entertainment, right? It's got to be artistic in some way. And the difference to me, art and entertainment are different, because art reaches inside you and moves something. It makes you feel something. It challenges your perspective, your views on things. I think it's really important to challenge your own self and worldview. Entertainment is just something that fills the space while you're bored. It's nice to get both at once, but I think it's pretty hard to do. And some of the best art is really boring. And then I'll wrap it up with kind of my personal opinion on truth. I think the main problem is the central problem philosophically is the egocentric predicament. We are trapped within our own nexus of experience, and we only have access to our own memories, and we do not have access to how other people process information, right? We can talk and listen and read, but these are all dealings with representations of the general article and not the direct experience itself. And that's the second problem, is the language has its limitations. Language and symbolism exist in between people, and no one has ownership of language or symbols. It's just something we share. The Webster's does not own the English language any more than, I like Stephen Fry's analogy that the Kennel Club does not own dog kind. The surest way to experience truth is to experience it firsthand, live and in person, and hopefully with like a group of people, and be like, hey, that was really cool, we experienced, and we share this experience, and we can agree on what happened, right? And with that, I'm gonna go touch some grass.